Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool. We're going to take a closer look at this Milwaukee Cobra, Milwaukee Knipex Cobra. But first, I made a statement earlier this year about these Milwaukee pliers, thinking they were going to be like the plier of the year, and that had to do with the design, not necessarily which tip you go with. These are just outstanding pliers, just wonderful. I have no qualms with them whatsoever. They are just great, and I stand by it that I think this will be the plier of the year. Yes, there's a few more months left, but here we are in August, and I think they're still at the top. Some might say, well, gee, what about the little snap-on availability in individual pliers, these little micro ones? That's in the running too. However, this is a smaller version of a larger version, not a completely unique design. Not terribly old though, but so maybe there's some challenge, but overall, a new plier designed, you know, taking something to another level, at least new for Milwaukee. I think that's great. Milwaukee's had some real winners in the past, including these, that just have like a cult-like following. They just work. They have two different sizes of those, and I like that Milwaukee's pushing their USA version too, of various tools. Just silky smooth, not cheap, but they aren't bizarrely expensive either, so good on you, Milwaukee. So let's take a closer look at the Milwaukee Cobra. That's what I'm calling this thing. It has a very similar design in several ways. One, obviously that push button. This push button is one of the big downfalls. A lot of people are complaining about just how massive that thing is. I mean, it almost doubles the width of the plier. Does it need to be that big? And the answer is no, because if I push this in till the blade slides, you can see that on this end. Look at how far it has to go versus how far it can go. In other words, right here, I can make this adjustment, and there's still almost half the button left to be able to be depressed. So this button is essentially, I would have to say, twice as big as it needs to be, or sticks out twice as far. Also, it's a little, this catches on things. It's like a little hook, the way they designed that. Maybe I should just pull it off or cut that down. But anyway, versus the Knipex, a little more melted, a little more streamlined, and as you can see on the Knipex, if you start pushing it in, you really, really, really have to go in, you know, almost recessed. Well, in fact, maybe recessed. Yeah, about recessed or about flush with the system in order to get it to shift. So that's one thing. Let's take a look at the jaws on these. Now the jaws are very similar in terms of that trapezoid shape. You might notice the head, this one looks awfully robotic, angular. Here's what they look like thickness-wise, a little similar there, but much larger profile on the head. That actually is for reaming out conduit or you know, metal tubing, things like that. Same down here. Now this is also a deviation from the Knipex design. Knipex is proud that their handles do not hit because they have engineered a stopping mechanism in there so it does not close and pinch your hand. These are notorious for pinching hands. And the philosophy there is, well, you've got a big heavy conduit reamer there. Are these pliers, or are they reamers? Reamers are a dime a dozen. All kinds of different things can ream, but a good pair of pliers is a little more elusive. So in my philosophy here, putting a reamer on there at the cost of the plier application is the wrong way to go. But that's just me. I obviously have these. But anyway, you can see it's really blocky and a lot more aggressive in here. If you look at the tip, Knipex really wins on having a nice, finer, textured jaw up here. Now, if you throw a bolt in here and look at the way it grabs it, this is pretty amazing. Do you look at just how tight that's grabbing it on 4 faces? Now, that has to do with the size of the bolt and the position. As soon as you start changing the position, you start losing you know, maybe the ability to grab. But this is, for a hand-operated tool, you are grabbing enough surface on that bolt that that should not be a problem, that you should easily have the leverage to keep it from slipping, and this won't slip in this system. So, you know, once you reach a certain threshold of attachment to the fastener, you're not necessarily going to gain anything by having an even more precise fit. Knipex is just outstanding as well, depending on where it gets grabbed. That just locks it in, I mean, through physics. The adjustment, I think, is a little bit more critical on the Knipex. You can really get this thing to grab so hard, and then it uses that same box construction. You can see that the lower jaw is the outer box, so that's the same on both of those. So presumably you could stand on this. I haven't tried it, but you know, and then the force of closing this into the lower position is going to lock in the grabbing even more. So the harder you squeeze, obviously, the tighter it grabs, even if it's just on the one handle. But anyway, lots of people have these. They come in sets. They come in different sizes. Again, what's weird is even on the small one, you can see they've got that giant bolt, or that giant adjustment thing that sticks out to the side, which is just huge. I don't understand why that's there. A lot of slop compared to the Knipex. Knipex fit much snugger together, and you can see, like in that, you know, the way these slide back and forth down at the end. You do not get that with the Knipex at all. Milwaukee also makes a channel lock. So this one uses the parallel jaws. So it's kind of like the plier wrench, except it doesn't have that adjustment. It's got the tongue and groove side. These, I like them. I think these are quite handy. I don't care for this, again, at the back end. For reaming conduit. If you're an electrician or you do a lot of stuff that requires that, is that worth the trade-off for getting pinched or something? But these are very smooth. I find them way smoother than believe it or not, than the channel locks. The channel locks I often get wedged in. Has to do with probably this angle here. If you hook it on one of these, I assume this is the tongue and these are the grooves. So if you slide that in, it just seems to drop in quite nicely, even though I don't think they put a lot of machining into trying to get that to work. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on these things. They've been around for quite a while. They're handy, they're simple, they're inexpensive, but they are, you know, it's got a bloated button here, it's got a blocky head, it's got the, you know, super pinching, you know, these are almost like insects, kind of like where Snap-on designed theirs, you know, after the bug. Maybe this is like you know, a silverfish or something that will pinch you with its tail, or centipede maybe. Anyway, I do like them though. I think they are great beater pliers, and I just wish that was smaller. Maybe somebody will come up with some better way, because you should be able to get this thing out. In fact, I could try it. I got a pair of pliers here. Let's see, maybe I'll use these. See if this works. Whoops. I'm going to get pinched here on live TV. Oh, they are not grabbing that very well. I did notice that with bolts, that these are not machined. I'm going to try it when I have more time, but they're not machined quite the same. If you do grab a bolt right here, there's often a little play. That's pretty good there. Try this one here. Sometimes you need a couple of options to compare the differences. But when I grab something, see that? See the way that wiggles in there? It's not grabbing it at the at all the pieces, all the edges flush. It does grab all the edges, but there's some wiggle there. You do not see that, or I don't encounter that on Knipex. It is rock solid. You know, even if you put it up, there is no play whatsoever there. So the machining on the Knipex is definitely much more precise, but again, there's so much wiggle in this operation that probably isn't the best, but they're a little less expensive. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Share those in the comments, please, and if you've got any other tools or applications for this tool, let me know, besides the conduit reaming. A lot of times people use these for hammers too, but anyway, with that, Doc out.